Imagine waking up one day, opening your wallet, and the US dollar is no longer the king of the world. You might be surprised, but that scenario is no longer just science fiction. So what's really going on behind the scenes of central bank meetings? Is the United States slowly losing its most powerful card in the global game? And more importantly, if the USD loses its #1 spot, how will that affect you, the global economy, and the future of world order? Join us in today's video as we uncover the full picture. A silent war that could shake the entire planet without a single gunshot. To understand why the rise of other currencies poses such a serious threat to the United States, we need to rewind to the moment the US dollar became the undisputed king of global finance. After World War II, much of the world was left in ruins. The major European powers were exhausted, Japan was devastated, and the Soviet Union was struggling to stabilize after the war. Only one country stood strong, and stronger than ever before, the United States. At that time, the US held nearly 70% of the world's gold reserves and controlled a massive share of global industrial production. More importantly, America had the credibility and the money to rebuild the global economy, and that's exactly what it did. In 1944, financial leaders from 44 countries gathered at a small hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Together, they created a new international monetary order with the US dollar at its core. So what happened? Other currencies were pegged to the US dollar, and the dollar was pegged to gold. $35 for 1 ounce of gold. Simple and trustworthy. No other currency had that privilege. That meant if you wanted to stabilize your own currency, you needed US dollars. And to get US dollars, you had to trade with America, hold dollar reserves, or participate in the US-led financial system. But the true power of the dollar didn't explode until 1971, when the US abandoned the gold standard. Soon after, the US struck a critical deal with Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter. Under this agreement, all oil would be sold exclusively in US dollars, not euros, not yuan, only dollars. And when you control oil transactions, you control the global economy. For decades, the US dollar faced virtually no serious challengers. But now, quiet shifts are underway. And this time, they're far from symbolic. They're being led by nations with a clear ambition to reshape the balance of global financial power. China is a prime example. Beyond expanding trade in its own currency, the yuan, China is also pioneering the development of its digital version, the ECNY. Unlike decentralized cryptocurrencies, the ECNY is issued by the central bank and can be used for cross-border transactions without relying on SWIFT, the global payment system dominated by the West. It's a strategic move that allows China to slowly detach itself from the US dollar in international trade. At the same time, Russia and India, two countries that don't always see eye to eye, are now settling oil transactions in their local currencies, completely bypassing the dollar. These aren't small payments. We're talking about energy contracts worth tens of billions of dollars. Meanwhile, the BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is working on creating a common currency for intra-bloc trade. The goal is crystal clear: to build an alternative financial ecosystem where the dollar is no longer the default intermediary. A parallel financial order is taking shape, and it's being built not with rhetoric, but with concrete action. Another key signal comes from gold. After years of being seen as a relic of the past, gold is making a comeback. Central banks, from China and India to other developing countries, are buying large amounts of gold to diversify their reserves and reduce dependence on the dollar. And in the midst of all this, the dollar itself is showing visible signs of weakening. In just the first half of this year, the US dollar dropped by 10.8%, its steepest decline since 1973. Although many countries are actively seeking to move away from the US dollar, the truth is, the dollar hasn't collapsed, and it still holds the central role in the global financial system. First, the United States remains the world's largest economy, with the most developed, transparent, and liquid financial markets. Investors and central banks around the world continue to trust US government bonds as a safe haven, during times of uncertainty. Second, according to the latest data from the IMF, Q1 2025, the US dollar still accounts for about 57.7% of global foreign exchange reserves, compared to 20% for the euro and just over 2% for China's renminbi, still below the 3% mark. This shows that despite growing challenges, the dollar remains dominant thanks to its stability, liquidity, and the strength of the US economy. Third, no other currency is currently in a position to fully replace the dollar. The renminbi is tightly controlled by the Chinese government and lacks transparency. The euro depends on consensus among multiple EU member states, making it harder to respond swiftly during crises. And newer ideas like a BRICS currency have yet to materialize or gain meaningful scale. So, will the dollar lose its crown? Or is this just a correction in an increasingly fast-changing global financial landscape? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful videos. Thanks for watching.